Greetings all. I wanted to take a minute to make a quick video about the Vedic Astrology birth chart of the new royal baby of House Sussex. So this is the new, I think he's a prince, of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, who was born a couple of days ago. And I saw the birth time announced, so I took a look at the chart and I thought it was pretty interesting, and there's a few things that I could share. So this is the chart, and I just heard they named him Archie. It's very cute. So this is the Vedic Astrology or Jyotish birth chart for this new baby. And if you're not familiar with my blog already or my channel, I do Vedic Astrology, the astrology of India, and I use the sidereal zodiac. So if you are used to following the modern, most popular, some people say traditional astrology, but the modern astrology, Western astrology with the circle chart, this is going to be a little bit different to you, particularly the zodiac, because if you look at this chart I have right here, the sun is in Aries still. So this is sun, this is Aries, and this is 2 days ago when this child was born, May 6th, 2019 at 5:26 a.m. So again, if you aren't too familiar with Vedic astrology, you can go to my site. I have an article explaining the difference between the tropical and the sidereal zodiac. And this is going to be entirely read from the sidereal zodiac. So in this top left-hand corner, if you're not familiar, this represents Pisces, and then Aries will be to the right of that, and the rest of the signs you can fill in going clockwise here. So this line here and the AS marks the ascendant. So this is an Aries ascendant. He was born with Aries coming up on the horizon at the time of his birth. And you can see right here he has Sun in Aries. So right off the bat, this is a powerful position for a royal. Of course, not everybody who's born with Sun in Aries is going to be royal, but this is a very regal positioning because Sun is the most royal of the planets. Sun is the archetype for the king. Sun is the ruler of Leo, the house or the sign of royalty and government. So having Sun in the first house is going to give him a bright and royal appearance. Sun is also exalted in the sign of Aries. That means Sun is able to share the most of himself. Sun is able to shine the brightest in Aries because Aries is ruled by Mars. So that's like having the warrior there to support and protect the king. It's like having the army there. It's having the fire of two fire planets together to give a lot of strength to the sun. And Sun is also, as I said, because he relates with Leo and government and the public eye, having Sun in the first house is going to put somebody more into the public eye, more into a position of being seen, maybe being a leader, but certainly having some recognition, some fame, having this very strong, exalted Sun in the first house. And so I think I'm going to look a lot at some of the yogas that are popping up here because that's what I found very interesting. So again, in Vedic astrology, if you're not too familiar, a yoga is a combination of planets in the chart that means something. There's certain positioning where planets in relation to each other are going to give more beneficial effects or sometimes more detrimental effects. But he's got a lot of what we call Raja yogas or a royal yoga that are going to support him in having a very powerful status and position in life, in gaining more general success, material success, happiness, all of this. So a few of these that I want to look at, you can see right here, Jupiter is directly across from the Moon and Mars. Moon and Mars up here are in Taurus, while Jupiter is in sidereal Scorpio at the time. So whenever planets are directly opposite each other in the chart, they're going to be casting an aspect on each other, and they're going to be having a connection. And so these planets in particular are all great supports to each other. They're all friendly towards each other, Jupiter, Moon, and Mars. And we can break it down, and we can also look at it collectively as an auspicious placement. But Jupiter and Mars together, this is going to be a very powerful placement for somebody who's really able to stand behind his actions. He's going to be able to do something righteous, something that he believes in. Jupiter gives us the power of ideas and principles and something that we're inspired to act on. And then Mars is the planet of action. So having Jupiter and Mars in connection like this is definitely going to give him this, this power to act on what he believes in. Jupiter and Moon is another auspicious combination. This is the Gajakesari yoga. And this is going to really elevate his mind. Jupiter, again, is a planet of inspiration. He often brings good luck. He often brings grace. And the moon is the mind. The moon is the part of us that thinks, the part of us that feels, the part of us that's able to synthesize ideas, to be present with life's experiences. And so this is going to be a very graceful position. Now, Moon already is also exalted in this chart. Moon is exalted in Taurus, and actually he's very close to where he's the most exalted, which would be at 3 degrees. This child's moon is at 6 degrees of sidereal Taurus. So this is already helpful for the moon. It's going to give him the ability to be more grounded. Moon is exalted in Taurus because it's a firm ground. It's an earthy support for the mind to rest. It's going to have he's going to have a very good support system here coming for his mind. Now, Mars, of course, Mars is passionate. Mars is fiery. That can sometimes agitate the mind. But Moon and Mars is actually a very powerful combination for wealth as well, which we already know that this child is born into a family of wealth. So this is actually amazing. It's no surprise. This combination for wealth is happening in his second house, the house of family, the house of money, the house of family money in particular. And he's having this, this Chandramangala yoga. The Moon and Mars are together here, which is really positioning him for a good amount of wealth and material comfort and stability in life, particularly stability being in the second house here. Jupiter and Mars are also adding into that wealth yoga, also being related. Jupiter's to the 9th house, Mars to the 1st. So having these coinciding and across the second house axis is also helping him with this natural inclination towards wealth in his life. Now, what I really see, he's got a lot of support here. Not only are the sun and the moon exalted, but Venus is also exalted in Pisces. And he's got these 3 planets exalted on either side, just going right across his lagna from the 12th, the 1st, the 2nd house. This is a strong support in general. Again, we already know, of course, he's born into a family, a position where he is having a lot of resources, having a lot of support. This chart certainly confirms that with these positionings. And Venus and Moon in particular, these are very gentle, very benefic planets to be supporting someone on either side of the lagna there. So that's adding a lot of grace to his life as well. And in the UK, when he was born, it was still the 2nd phase of the waxing moon, the 2nd Titi. So it's not quite in Akshaya Tritiya, which is this day of auspiciousness where sun and moon are exalted during the 3rd waxing phase, but it is very close. And despite not being on that 3rd Titi, it is still sun and moon are exalted. Venus is exalted right before the lagna. So this is bringing a lot of grace into his life. And even this Saturn and Ketu are interesting. So Saturn and Jupiter are also both very strong at the time. Well, Saturn we can debate strong, but they're very, very bright. Saturn and Jupiter, the underlining here indicates that they are retrograde. So when a planet is retrograde, you can see the sun is coming nearly opposite these planets. And when the sun is opposite, it's like you have a full Saturn or a full Jupiter. They're very, very bright in the sky. So he does have a very bright Jupiter, a very bright Saturn, and this can bring some grace as well. Jupiter in particular, this is a position that I see definitely adding to the potential for inheritance. Jupiter is in the 8th house. He's the 12th lord here. And I also see these planets on this side of the chart likely to put him on some kind of a spiritual path. You know, hopefully. I think with all of the resources he has at hand that he will be able to make use of these positions, and it can yield a spiritual path out of that to some degree. There's the potential for investigating mysticism, meditation through these positions. And I also think he is somebody that's going to work hard to transform society. So when we see this K2 and Saturn together, of course, this is happening all year. This is happening for a lot of children born this year, having this close K2 Saturn conjunction. But for him, it is happening in the 9th house in Sagittarius, which is the natural 9th sign. And this is a place where people may often work very hard for what they believe in, what they believe is right. Sagittarius is very much about doing what you believe is right, doing something charitable for others, for the world. Having Saturn there is going to compel him to work hard for that, work hard for what he believes in, for some cause. And K2 there, I think he's actually going to be really trying to maybe not reverse, but definitely change some of the past way that perhaps the royal family has interacted with the potential for service, the potential for interacting with the world at large. Of course, we have seen that already for recent decades, that they're doing a lot of humanitarian activity, but this chart is definitely oriented towards that. And really with K2 there as well, I see the potential for him really digging into some familial karma in some way, whether this is on a personal level or a public level. There's going to be a path where he's working very, very hard to dig into that, particularly in relation with his father, because Saturn, the Lord of the 10th, and the 9th house here are both bringing in this potential of the father. His mother, of course, also is a powerful figure, and she's represented by the moon here. And we already talked about that. This is a very strong and powerful moon. Moon is the ruler of his 4th house and the archetype for mother in general. So we already know that. Of course, a lot of these things are confirming what we already know, but I thought it was really interesting that there's so many yogas here in the chart that are supporting this royal birth that's just happened. So I hope you found that interesting, and please follow my channel and join the free mailing list on my website if you're not on it already. Thanks.